I just want to do a little follow-up video on the little talk we had the other night about narcissists, how we attract them into our lives, this and that. You know, you've heard probably 1,000 different renditions of that little talk from everybody on the internet. One thing that I haven't heard very many people talk about, if any, is healing from it. People will tell you need to heal from it, but nobody talks about the healing process, and definitely not what life is like after you have healed from it. To kind of summarize what I talked about the other night, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but at one point, I actually set out to debunk narcissism because that word has become so sensationalized and used as a buzzword and clickbait and things like that throughout the spiritual community and whatnot for the past decade or so. And doing hours and hours and hours of research, I concluded that I think the whole narcissist thing is bullshit. Because if you study and research some of the characteristics of a person who has narcissistic personality disorder, you can take little pieces of those characteristics and slap them on anybody that you have ever met in your life. But me personally, I had never met one human being who fit that whole description. So I chalked it up as being a conspiracy invented by the psychological community until I attracted a narcissist into my life. And that transformed my worldview a little bit. I still do take notice of that word being seriously overused. And if you meet 20 people who say they've been with a narcissist, usually about 16 or 17 of those people have just slapped that label on somebody that they don't like, or somebody who's just an asshole, or whatever the case may be. And it's like, you can't just slap that label on somebody. They're out there. Just, I argue, not in the numbers that people are claiming they're out there. However, those of you who have actually attracted a real textbook narcissist into your life know that that is arguably one of the most treacherous, tumultuous shitholes that you can be sucked into. And breaking free from it is incredibly difficult. It can be the biggest test of psychological strength, emotional integrity that you have ever been put under in your life. A true narcissist is extremely stubborn, persistent, and relentless. So you have to beat them at their own game in order to break free from it. And if you do it successfully, this can transform you into a version of yourself that you didn't know existed. Just think about what it is that you have to do in order to break free from a narcissist. A real, true narcissist will stalk you and push you and poke you and antagonize you and spread rumors about you for months and months and months and months and sometimes years. Do you know what feeds it? Your reaction to it. That's what feeds it. The sooner you can put your foot down and keep it there and go no contact and go ice cold, the sooner you can break free from it. Now, I'm not trying to play it off and make it sound like it's easy. It's very difficult. I, at one point, revered myself as being a master at controlling my emotions and controlling my behavior. And this almost had me to my breaking point. It's incredibly hard. However, you got to awaken that beast in you. You got to put your foot down and go no contact. There's just this thing that gets triggered in us that a true narcissist is so illogical, so unreasonable. It seems unrealistic. Like our mind immediately defaults to, there's no way that you can be that unreasonable. Yes, there is. There's no way that you can be that sick. Yes, there is. There has to be a way to talk some sense into you. There's not. There has to be a way to get you to understand. There's not. If you dig in just a little bit deeper and do a little bit more research into people who truly do have narcissistic personality disorder, you will find that it is a brain defect. There are actually very important parts of their brain that have very little to no activity that should. So basically, you're fighting a losing battle from the get-go. You will not talk sense into them. You will not get them to understand. You will not logically, reasonably explain to them the error of their ways and get them to see the error of their ways enough to make a true, genuine change. So what you have to do is put your foot down and go ice cold. Do not react to anything that they say to you. Do not react to any rumors that they spread about you. Do not react, do not react, do not react. And I know it's hard. But if you can manage to not react, the longer you stay not reacting, that's choking off their life source. It's choking it off. And you got to hold it and 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 hold it for months and months and months and months and months. Again, sometimes years. But if you can outlast them, eventually the beast will go limp and die. And once that happens, believe it or not, the healing process is actually halfway done. What you should realize right around this point is, whoa, I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I'm a lot stronger than I ever have been. And then at some point, hopefully the idea that starts floating around in your mind is, what is it that I'm really looking for? Because remember, go back to what we talked about when it comes to how we attract a narcissist into our life. Let's talk about energy mechanics really quickly. Like frequency attracts like frequency. Okay? So emptiness, loneliness, lack, and neediness has to attract a person whose vibration harmoniously resonates with emptiness, loneliness, lack, and neediness. Narcissism vibrates and resonates very harmoniously with emptiness. Think about it. Loneliness, desperation, lack, neediness. This is how we attract the narcissist into our life. So at some point in time, hopefully the idea that starts floating around in your mind is, well, what is it that I really need to fill this empty void? Do I really need a relationship to create the happiness that I'm looking for? I would rather be alone for the rest of my life and figure out how to make myself happy than even take the chance on going through that again. Once you've had that conversation with yourself for the first time in your life, if you pay attention, you have filled your own void. Hopefully, you will realize you are now standing in the energy of emotional independence for the first time in your life. Emotional independence is a very slippery slope. Just because you stand up in that energy for a temporary period of time doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to stay there. It's really easy to slip and fall into that energy of emotional codependency. But if you can stand tall and maintain that energy of emotional independence, what happens is your bullshit detector gets really, really sensitive. Because again, what's going through your mind is, what is it that I'm really looking for? It's not a relationship. Because if I would rather be alone than take the chance on allowing that to happen to me again, then obviously it's not a relationship that I'm looking for. So anytime you connect with any person after encountering and breaking free from a narcissistic connection, and you're standing tall in your own integrity, it's real easy to sniff out toxicity. It's real easy. You smell it from a mile away. And that's when most people go through a period where they're kind of turning relationships down. And this, again, goes into once you start turning relationships down, your person is on the way. The reason why people end up going to their deathbed having never met their actual person is because they're looking for who their person is rather than focusing on who their person is not. Once you're standing in that energy of emotional integrity and independence, you can tell who your person is not because you sniff out toxicity from a mile away. The red flags pop up right in front of your face. It's like, nah, sorry. Nope. Nope, nah, not going near that energy. I'm not doing it. Sorry. So you start turning people down. I argue that one of the leading causes behind people going to their deathbed having never met their person is you're right here, your person is over here, and there's all these people in between them, and you're headed straight towards them. I draw this little diagram out for my personal clients all the time, where you're on a road headed straight towards your person, but there's all these people in between you. Well, what happens is we connect with this person and we waste too much time. And then things end up going wrong after a period of years. Then we move on to the next person, then we waste too much time with them. When all you have to do is think, what are some very common, sensible, easy, little qualities that I can sniff out in a person that I know my person won't have? And standing in that sense of emotional independence and integrity will really, really, really help you be able to sniff that out in a person. Every single person that I know right now who is with their actual life partner has encountered narcissistic abuse. They all have that one thing in common. Another thing that they have in common is they have made the most radical transformations of anybody on this planet. You take a look at them before they connected with that person, and you look at who they are now, they're completely different people in a good way. When you encounter anything that traumatizes you or hurts you, you're never going to be the same person, period. It's up to you whether or not that is a good thing or a bad thing. If you just waller around in the woe is me, poopy pants, boo-hoo mentality, then obviously that's going to end up being a bad thing. However, if you can take that energy and flip it on its head and make it your bitch, you could transform yourself into the highest vibrational, most evolved version of yourself than you could ever imagine possible. So, anyway, I know at least one person needed to hear that. And just so long as one person takes one thing that they heard me say and uses it to completely transform their life, then my job is complete. I'm out of here now, y'all. I wish you love, luck, light, and prosperity on your journey. Y'all stay blessed.